Crusaders over the Highlanders, 33 points to 13. Just too good are the Crusaders. Their massive home winning streak goes on. The Highlanders, they didn't disgrace themselves at all. They had periods of dominance, but not periods where they were able to dominate the scoreboard. That's, the difference between the Crusaders and most teams is when the Crusaders dominate you, they pile on the tries, whereas when the Crusaders are on defence, even if they haven't got the ball or they're unable to exit, they still don't concede that many points. I actually missed the start of this game. I was about 7 minutes late, so it was 3-0 by the time I started. I'm still getting used to these 7 o'clock kickoffs, which is kind of tricky with the little kids, but if it does get a few extra people along to the game, in terms of, not having to put your kids to bed late, like if you take young ones to the game, that can only be a good thing. And the crowd, I must say, was the first thing that caught my eye. What a crowd. That was really, really impressive. How good does a full stadium look? I know Christchurch needs a new stadium, but credit to all the people who go out there and watch the game, because that looked really good on TV, and your team put on quite the show for you as well. So that was really pleasing to see. 3-0 early to the Highlanders. It seems like they had a bit of pressure before I actually turned it on. But by the time I turned it on, it was only a few minutes later until the Crusaders started applying the pressure. Cody Taylor got the first try. Bridge with a little half break and an offload. And the Crusaders getting a half break and an offload was kind of the story of this game, man. It's just what they do. Havili converted the first one, so the lead changed, and it was 7-3, and the Crusaders never looked back. Christie got the second one for the Crusaders. Again, it was Goodhue with an offload that was equal to the one he did last week against the Blues. Sideline, they missed the conversion. It was 12-3. 23 minutes, though, as the Highlanders were starting to look in deep trouble. Collins got one on the left wing. The TMO had to check it out, but that one was all good. So that made it 12-8. And at 12-8, it's kind of still game on. The Crusaders have scored on 14 and 20. Highlanders score on 23. It's time to stop the Crusaders where they're at and settle the game back down. Nah. The Crusaders pretty much go down the other end and score straight away. Enor straight through a gap. Josh Dixon misses a tackle. And to be fair in the lead up, Josh Ioane missed one on David Havili, which is an area that it's just harder to defend when you're a 12 instead of a 10. You're expected to do a bit more. Try and conversion. This time, Bryn Hall took the conversion. They had 3 different kickers tonight, so 19-8. And then just before halftime, Bridge got a try. Crusaders took a quick tap penalty, and Bridge ended up going through Aaron Smith. They converted the try, so it was 28 points to 8. It was 26 points to 8 at halftime. So the Crusaders were looking well comfortable. The Highlanders' missed tackle count was really bad. At halftime stats, run meters 306 to 220, so that's not too bad. Like the Crusaders had more, but not horrendously more. But then possession was 60-40 to the Crusaders. Territory was 60-40. The stats they showed on TV was different, but these are the ones from ESPN. Seems kind of right, because the Crusaders, from that 20th minute for the most part, seemed to be bossing the game. Tackling percentage, Crusaders at halftime 95%. The Highlanders were at 76, which just shows, they were missing kind of 1 in 4 tackles, which is what it looked like on the telly. Second half, Highlanders get a yellow card for Zell with a bit of a lifting tackle on Enor. And at that point, it's looking like, man, Crusaders keep running in tries. Now they've got an extra man advantage. They are going to... As a Blues fan, I was thinking, man, at least my team didn't get beaten by that much. These guys are going to get really run into the ground. But something must have stirred in the Highlanders, or whatever it was they said at halftime, because they actually seemed to come a bit better in the second half. And during the yellow card, Mo'unga had one line break and Havili had a line break during that yellow card period where the Crusaders potentially could have scored. But the Highlanders managed to hold them out. Maybe a bit of poor Crusaders decision making. The Highlanders had one chance during the yellow card. Aaron Smith probably should have passed instead of kicking. But yeah, overall, the fact that it finished 0-0 during the yellow card, that's a win to the Highlanders for sure. And then they kind of went on from strength to strength there. They put on a bunch of chances and put on some real pressure down the Crusaders' end, but that's the difference, man. They just can't score. Crusaders' defense, they were getting turnovers, they were winning penalties, so eventually they did get one through Nareki. They put on a fair bit of pressure, and they just managed to get it in the slightest bit of space on the left wing. Missed the conversion, so 26-13. 26-13, next score if it's the Highlanders, game on. Next score if it's the Crusaders, probably game over. It didn't look like there was going to be a score because it's kind of kept flowing, but then eventually Sione Havili got a try. It was from a line-out move, and he just kind of wasn't tackled, managed to scramble back over the line. So Drummond kicked the conversion. So you got Brynhall, Mitch Drummond, and David Havili all taking the goal kicks tonight, none taken by Moonga. So 33 points to 13, that's how it finishes. Crusaders just too good at home. Final stats: possession 55-45, territory 50-50. So like I mentioned, the Highlanders in the second half looked a much better team. They just weren't able to quite crack the Crusaders defence except that one time, which was barely when it was. Knock-ons, Crusaders had 11, Highlanders had 3. So the Highlanders, if nothing else, will be pleased with their handling. But the Crusaders maybe will look at that as an area for improvement during their bye week, which is coming up. Run meters 584 to 489. So the overall product was pretty entertaining. This was a good ad for Super Rugby. Even if it's the dominant team doesn't surprise us, they continue to be dominant. Like in terms of watching attacking, flowing rugby, some good moves, good defence as well. So it's not just all about attack. Good crowd. This certainly had a bit of everything. Crusaders finished with a tackling percentage of 90%, made 142 tackles. The Highlanders 81%, made 135. So yeah, penalty count was 9-8, so not horrendously high. Pretty okay levels, not low, but maybe a slightly below average. But yeah, man, like I mentioned, Crusaders just in the first half when they were good, 14-20, 26-32, bam, 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 bam. That's what they do. Highlanders, all that pressure. One try amidst all the Crusaders ones on 23, and then that one after all that pressure on 63. Not quite enough, but at least they were creating those chances. At least they were making the Crusaders work for it. But yeah, bonus point win for the Crusaders. Can't complain. Job done. And like I mentioned, the Crusaders go into a bye now, so they got a rest, which is probably a nice time to have a bye after 4 rounds of rugby. So you can see Havili had a bit of a limp. That's why he stopped taking the goal kicks. Mo'unga's not taking goal kicks, so he must be not quite 100%. So good chance for these guys to get a break, get a rest, and recover. While Diego had the concussion thing last week, Scott Barrett's been out, Will Jordan's been out. So all these guys need to get back fit, which is bad news for everyone who's not Crusaders fans. The Highlanders will host the Rebels down in Dunedin, so a good chance for them to get back on track. But yeah, overall I thought it was a pretty good game. Pretty entertaining. No surprise in terms of the scoreline. But other than that, man, it was quite the show. You guys let me know your thoughts. How did you think this game went? Kind of key moments and whatnot. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.